it's hard to make generalisations on this stuff because you can find an example to back up anything, but I think that my observation is that men who violate the sanctity of their own families are more likely to be able to look forward to a long and productive career than women.
This is Annabel Crabb, who I'm a huge fan of, but also is one of those wonderful women journalists in Australia that we really relate to and that we really look to for some authenticity and honesty in the world.
This is Suzie Miller, famous Australian playwright. I like the way that Suzie applies a really forensic eye to contemporary social problems and like really strips it back to tell it through the eyes of sometimes one person. Let's talk about Anna Kay though, because your character is, she's at the height of her powers as a premium current affairs news host, and in her private life, she's met an interview subject of hers who she's interviewed and subsequently developed a relationship with.
Yes.
She's left her husband. She's got a kid who's 10-ish.
10, yeah.
And in her brain, this is all fine because it's all organised. It's very, what she's experiencing is true and powerful. Her marriage was at an end.
And she's making an autonomous, informed decision about her personal life.
And she knows that this relationship started after she'd done the interview and put the story in the can and all of that. So she's like, cool, everything's fine.
But it's really hard for women to make decisions like that in any way, I guess, challenge the domestic expectation.
Right.
And when they're in the public eye already and something like that has happened, some of the research I've done has just showed utter kind of attacks toward them. And of course, anyone that leaves a partner in the public eye, there's some kind of chatter about it. Sometimes there's eye rolling or sometimes there's even joy at the fact that someone's moved on. But I feel like with women it starts to become, it seems to trigger a sort of insecurity about the patriarchal structure of life and relationships and family and domesticity. And suddenly she's deserting her children or her child, and suddenly she's doing something that's out, and because he's a much younger man as well, it's outside of the expectation of
suddenly she's a cougar.
And she's got names attached to her situation. And I guess also that it's almost like it crosses over a little bit with that tall poppy syndrome in Australia, where people want to cut her down. They want to cut her down because she's successful and she's powerful and she's tripped up in their eyes in terms of social expectations and social acceptance on some level. So she's on the other side of her profession, which is interesting, but it actually boils over into something that is, I guess, using her as a way to violently attack women that make choices for themselves.
I think that with Anna, it's what makes the play so interesting, and I really like your little shout outs to Anna Karenina. It's the same story, right, isn't it? That it's easy to defend a public figure who's perfection, right?
Yeah, of course.
But then what about once they have a chink in their armour, like how
they make a human decision,
right?
Yeah. Anna was sacrificed as a warning to women not to choose a life that's unconventional, and perhaps it was Tolstoy saying, "Society will not let us be our nature; they want us to be a certain thing." It was interesting because one of the things that inspired the writing of the play was a journalist in the UK years ago who was accused of something that wasn't prosecuted and it didn't play out. But it was within her family situation. And the Twitter storm that followed was so devastating and such a public shaming on every level. And you think, that to me was the sort of, if I do that analogy, because there is a nod to Anna Karenina in the play, obviously this idea that a woman is taken by society and totally shamed despite being held on a pedestal before. And the nuance of her relationship is one that doesn't fit a mould, and so therefore she's brought down, whereas he is seen to be someone that could actually be reclaimed by society and be repaired and given back to a platform. But I think what I wanted to do with the play was actually rewrite an ending so that there's a different template for women rather than just the isolation and the complete destruction of their career or their sense of self. But you think, what, women are supposed to swallow their passion and swallow their sense of autonomy in order to just serve a family, and therefore that's how they get, how they receive some level of life contentment.